Today, we will tackle about communication process. Elements of communication. Communication has five basic elements. They are communicator or the sender, the person who sends the ideas, the receiver, the person who receives the ideas given by the communicator, transmission, the act, way, or the method of issuing or sending the ideas. Next, we have message. The message or the idea, order, instruction, advice, suggestion, observation, appeal, or report which is to be communicated. The message is given by the communicator. So next we have response. The reaction or the reply of the person to whom the message was communicated. So the response here is the receiver. Next, the communication process. Generally, the communication process takes place through the following stages. Conceiving a meaningful idea. By translating this idea into an understanding form, or what we call encoding. Transmitting this encoded message, decoding the message for meaning. The decoding here is the receiver who decode the meaningful idea given by the communicator or the sender. The communication process. Shannon and Weber attempted to describe the general process of communication for all situations. They mentioned that there are five ingredients in communication. These are a source or speaker, or what we know the sender or the communicator, a transmitter. What are the ways or method used by the source or the speaker? A signal or speech. Next, a receiver. Of course, when the source or speaker sending some information, it will receive by the receiver or the listener. A destination or listener. The communication process. David Key Berlow's model consists of 9 components. These are source, encoder, message, channel, receiver, decoder, meaning, feedback, and noise. The source is the sender or the communicator. The encoder, his or her meaningful message. The message is the impact or the whole thought of what the source has been sending. The channel, what are the method or way of sending his or her message. The receiver, which is the person who received the details or information given by the source. The decoder, this is what the receiver decodes about the encoder given by the source. So the meaning of the message or the meaning or the whole impact message of given by the source. Of course, if there is a message, there is a feedback given by the receiver. And of course, di mawawala yung noise or the communication barrier. This is considered as a communication barrier. However, we can understand that communication process through the following diagram. As we can see, we have here the sender and the receiver. The sender gives some thought, ideas, or message through symbols or encoding. And transmission of message, what are the ways or tools used by the sender to send the message, and the reception by the receiver, and how he or she decode the given message of sender, the giving meaningful message of the sender. And after he or she decodes the message, there come the understanding of his or her own knowledge about the thoughts given by the sender. So of course, the receiver will give, of course, excuse me, the receiver will send some feedback, go back to the sender. And therefore, there is, therefore, the sender will know if the receiver will fully understand what he or she is talking about. And of course, hindi mawawala yung noise or the communication barrier. We all encounter a lot of communication barrier. It include noisy environment, undergoing constructions, different ways of communication barrier that can affect the hearing or the understanding of receiver. Let us examine the specific steps involved on the communication process. The communicator or sender, communication originates from the sender. He realized the needed for conveying something to someone else. He has the purpose of communicating some information to one or more person. So the communicator is conveyed to send some message or thought or ideas or somewhat like what he wants to convey to one or more person. But of course, he has the purpose of sending that communication or sending that message. Encoding. Encoding means putting the message into code. A message is initiated by encoding a thought. The communicator or sender encodes the information to be transmitted. This encoding might take the form of verbal words, gestures, facial expressions, physical action, or even artistic expression. The message. A message is an output of encoding the process. This message must be unambiguously understood by the receiver. The message must be clear and precise. Of course, for the receiver to be able to understand the message, of course, the sender must be clear when he or she is talking about what he want to send, what he want to talk about. Next, we have the channel. A message is transmitted through the appropriate channel. The common channels include printed pages, face-to-face discussions, airwaves, and telephone lines. Since the choices of channels are many, the proper choice of the channel is vital for effective communication. Nowadays, we have a lot of ways of sending our messages to others. So we have a lot of way or methods by sending our concerns, right? So, but of course, we need to choose the right one, the convenient one, or the vital way para sa effective communication. Decoding. Decoding refers to finding the meaning of something conveyed in code. It is the process by which the receiver interprets the message. Decoding is affected by several factors such as recipient's knowledge and past experience. Personal interpretations of the symbols and gestures used, expectations and mutuality of meaning. Hence, decoding is very for understanding the message. Of course, if the sender gives some encoding, here comes the decoding of the receiver. It defines if how the receiver analyzed or how he or she understands the given message by the sender. The receiver. Communication requires at least a couple of people, the sender and the receiver. One encodes and the other decodes the message. It will be complete only when the receiver perceives the message intact. The receiver must decode the message without distortion. If the message does not reach a receiver, the communication cannot be said to have taken place. Of course, it must know that we must know that if the receiver received the message intact, or he or she fully understood what the sender gave, or what the communicator has been sending. So we must know, as you know, communication is understanding the communication given is much important. Dito natin na lalaman na naintindihan ni receiver ang what have the sender send. Feedback. Feedback refers to the reaction of the receiver. It enables the sender to know whether his message is received and interpreted correctly or not. Moreover, feedback enables the sender to know the reaction of the receiver so that future communication can be modified if necessary. It also helps to check the effectiveness of communication. Yes, feedback is much important. Feedback must come from the receiver. Feedback is a big help for the sender to know if her or his receiver has fully understand what he or she is talking about. Feedback allow the receiver to give comment about what the sender was talking about, or what the sender is trying to address. Of course, all of that, here comes the noise. It is the enemy of feedback. Noise may occur at any stage of the communication process and distort the message. It hinders or blocks communication. Yes, or what we so call the communication barrier. Noise is the enemy of feedback. Noise can be anywhere, anytime. It hinders or blocks the communication. In the communication process, noise is the greatest enemy of communication. That's it. Thank you for listening.
Can I ask Miss why communication is important?
Thank you for that question. As we all know, communication has a lot of benefits to us. It enables us to gather some important details and understand each other, especially. Though sometimes we may encounter misunderstanding because of communication barriers, but still, communication play a huge and vital role in our daily life. It is useful way to express one's feelings to another and persuading something that you want them to be. Thank you.